Hey guys, it's Matt. You guys know I saved all my old Dungeons and Dragons books when I was a kid, probably around 1980. Really got into this. We looked at the back of this Deities and Demigods book about a year and a half ago. The known planes of existence. We're going to look at this again. Outer planes, inner planes. I mean, there's so much in these books that, put it this way, it just doesn't seem like a game. So much, quote, occult or esoteric knowledge. I mean, this guy that created Gary Gygax, I mean, does it seem like it's just some guy that creates a game? Or he let's just say he's probably, quote, you know, I love the word, initiated into something. You know, here's the back of the player's handbook. That's why I'm doing this video. I found this. More on the known planes of existence. Prime material, positive material, air, earth, air, fire, earth, water, ethereal plane, the astral here in the center, surrounding the astral, the associated heavens or afterlives, depending on the religion or God and deity myth associated with the character that you're playing. I mean, this really, what is this even here for? You don't use any of this as you play the game. I mean, it's, look, Easter, ethereal and astral combat, astral travel. So we looked at this in the back of the Deities and Demigods. I didn't realize it was at the back of this player's handbook. So we're going to look at this. I don't know what to make of this, guys. I just know this guy here that created everything, this Gary Gygax, it just doesn't seem like a guy that created a game for kids. There's more here, but we'll take another look at it. As a kid, I thought this was the devil. But you eventually had to fight the devil. I found this, my old address at Kingswood Apartments in King of Prussia, Pennsylvania, 290A Murray Drive. If anybody wants to look me up to see if I am actually Joe Rogan, that would be a tough one. Well, Matt, they could have planted your doppelganger there, assuming your name, Matt McKinley, back in the 70s, and you are still Joe Rogan. Yeah, I guess they're capable of anything, aren't they, Zara? Anyway, guys, I want to show you this. I mean, we'll look briefly at the monster manual, but I have this old one. This is probably banned at this point. Advanced Dungeons and Dragons Oriental Adventures. I mean, I don't even know, can I even say that and have this load? This is a book, a Dungeons and Dragons book called Oriental Adventures, but no doubt this is banned. This book is probably worth $10,000 or $20,000. Absolutely, it's worth nothing because it's racist. Sorry. Let me take some pictures and we'll get into the video. Okay, guys, as we get into this, our purpose is simple. You know, why is all this stuff here in this game? And per a certain segment or section that we look at, if you know something about it and you can add to it, just, you know, comment on that certain section. But I'm certainly not going to look to the back of the Deities and Demigods game and say, oh, must be the way it really is. Oh, Gary Gygax must be some 666 level initiate of something. And I'm not going to look to it and say this is like some known mystery of the universe is being presented by Dungeon. Even if it's there, I'm not going to do it. There's no way. I mean, who would ever know? And I'm not going to change my simple worry about yourself, myself philosophy. Let's just keep this at the most basic level. Have fun with this. Why is all this stuff here? What is it in the game for? The amount of research you'll see. There was no internet back then. He's researching however they do the research. Matt, in the lodges, they have their research already done. Even going into the card catalog would take forever to compile all this. The different myths and legends and gods and pantheon of gods associated with different regions of the world. That by itself it's like a lifetime project. Why is it all here in such detail? It's almost like, guys, you know, there is, you know, who knows who's wearing the dark robes here, but it's almost like we have all this stuff and we had to put it all together. Now let's, for whatever reason, make a game or base a game around it. It's almost like the game was after the fact, because you don't need this level of research and this level of detail to put a game out. kids playing it, I mean, they probably know it's, it's fourth graders through 12th graders in high school and some groups of college kids getting together. This, when it first came out, it was not adopted by people in their 20s and 30s for the most part. It was a younger person's game. They knew this level of detail about ancient Celtic myth is not necessary. So, the main question here is, why is all this stuff here? Let's keep it simple. Let's have fun with this. I'm not going to, I mean, what an insult to your intelligence or into my own to try to look to the back of these books for like the answers on how the existence. Now, if there's certain things in the back that confirms what we already believe, that what people in this community have been saying and sharing with me for over 10 years, that, Matt, I do go out of body, somebody may say to me, and there is a difference between the ethereal and the astral. And this is, the back of the Dungeons and Dragons does support what a lot of people are saying. If you do endless research on Rudolf Steiner and, he just lecture after lecture talking about the Rosicrucians, the Freemasons, initiates into whatever, talks about the ethereal body, existence beyond the physical. They call it the vital body, all related. And of course, Gary Gygax isn't just some dude that just decided to put all this together. Yeah, whatever order of Aleister Crowley he came from, I don't care. It's interesting, it's obvious, but it's almost like I'm more interested in your thoughts on this, guys. My first take, after many years of just looking at this, was this information was kind of needed to be researched or put together first, and then they made a game with it second for whatever purpose. It's not like there's no way all this research went into the game because it's not needed in the game. See, it was needed for their dark robes. It was needed for their lodge or whatever it may be. That's my takeaway from this. And there's a lot in the back of these books that supports, the known planes of existence. Someone would come forth, many of you would come forth and say, Matt, that's pretty much accurate. And it might be very accurate, but I really don't care, my take on this stuff. I don't travel out of body. I don't walk into the ethereal. I don't know what my vital body is and travel into the astral. I don't care about any of that. I'm here to do what I need to do in this short lifetime as it exists and do the worry about yourself, worry about myself, yourself activities. What does my spiritual whole need from this life? I don't care about walking into the ether or whatever. It's still interesting. And still, my main question is not that there's some secret answers here, but why is it in the game? What's it here for? That's where I'm most interested in your comments. Okay, guys, let's do a minute on where we left off the video, whatever it was a year and a half ago, when we looked at the back of the Deities and Demigods book. The outer planes, the inner planes. It says the known planes of existence. This is from the Deities and Demigods books. So we're going to get into the more detail of what each one's called. They call our universe there depicted with the circular universe of galaxies, planets, etc. Who knows how much Gary Gygax and these folks believe in that. But that's called, according to Dungeons & Dragons, the prime material plane. It's the astral that carries one to the outer planes, where, as it's depicted here, the heavens, or the paradises, or the afterlives are depicted for whatever religion or deity, god, myth your character is associated with. And some people in the know, I forget exactly how they put it to me, after we looked at this, the first video a year and a half ago, I said, yeah, that's basically it. That's basically correct in terms of how the ethereal and the astral, how it's presented is basically correct. If anybody's in the know on this stuff or travels out of body and it's not correct, then please share that in the comments. Either way, I don't know, but I don't really care. I know probably all about that when I'm done here, or my higher self knows all about that stuff. I don't really need to know it now. I want to stress that. We don't need to know this now. It's just fun. Okay, this is the way it's depicted in the player's handbook, or the back of the player's handbook. In the middle, number 1, I know it's partially cut off. I'll read it to you. Prime material plane, number 1. Typically depicted as what science tells us here. Galaxies, solar systems, planets, etc. But of course, according to the D&D world, just this thing they call the universe is just a tiny little piece, basically what we believe. Scientists, the universe is endless, it's all there is. No, it's I don't care how big it is. It's a tiny little piece of the whole. That's how it's depicted here. So prime material plane in the center, where the mall map. You are here. The physical plane doesn't have a mall map here. Houses the universe and all of its parallels. Well, parallel universes. They're bringing that Marvel shit in here 40 years before Marvel. It's the plane of Terra and your campaign as a Dungeons and Dragons player, in all likelihood. So here it's like it's almost hinting that you can devise character campaigns outside of the known universe. I mean, what kind of sick little bastards in 7th grade got into that? But hey, I like the big thinking at least. Number 2, the positive material plane, just above. I mean, they're not saying it's flat or anything. There's just no other way to depict it graphically. Positive material plane is a place of energy and light, the place which is the source of much that is vital and active, the power supply for good. Is that the vital body? Is that where the higher self is? I don't know. It doesn't matter. It's just fun. Matt, stop saying that. We know. We got the message. Just read and shut up. Sorry. The negative material plane, that's number 3, is the place of antimatter and negative force, the source of power for undead, Hillary Clinton, and the energy area from which evil grows. That's where maybe the sequential incarnations like Melvin come from, maybe. And then you have the elementals on the outside, air, earth, fire, and water. And finally, number 8, which is you can barely see all the way to the right, and mixed all the bubbles and all the circles on the outer edge, is the ethereal or ethereal. I don't know which one it is. Please don't correct me in the comments. Please don't tell me where Block Island is. Please only use the comments to move our understanding of reality forward. In Philly, it's $50 and it's ethereal. Okay, is that which surrounds and touches all the other inner planes. Surrounds, it sounds like Yoda speak. It surrounds us and like the Force, it binds us. That is why you failed Dungeons and Dragons. Sorry. The endless parallel worlds of the universe, it binds via the ethereal without being a part of any of them. Any creature able to become ethereal and transform into the ethereal and then return to material form can use this plane to move from one to the other of the inner planes. This is explained fully in the following paragraphs. It is? With us? I don't know if we're going to get into this, guys. But I'm sure there's people listening to this that have done this. I mean, really, that's the type of brain trust we have here. Matt, you do it. I don't do it. I barely know how to take the trash out. Got you a better picture here, guys. A better look at it. That's all. Just sorry I had the other one cut off. We also looked at this diagram, the video a year and a half ago or so on deities and demigods. And no, guys, no need to go back and find that video. We're going much further here, putting more pieces together. A lot of people shared information with me about that video. So it's the astral that takes one, or at least is the link between the planes of existence that I just showed and the paradises or heavens, or where, oh boy, where people would go, not trying to stop you, where people would go in the afterlife. The astral is like the bridge, the rainbow bridge out, and see if Michael and others would agree with that. Again, these are just a small sampling of the afterlives regarding whatever, the way they present it in Dungeons and Dragons is whatever gods or pantheon of gods your character follows. And we'll look at that in just a second, explain how Dungeons and Dragons presents that. But it's based on real, quote, as they present it, myth, real religion as it exists now or existed on Earth, say, over the last thousands of years. And again, the amount of detail and research they've done is just more than anybody could do for a game. That's why I think the game came after the fact. So it showed the ethereal surrounded everything, but the inner planes and outer planes, and the interpretation is that ain't shit. To get really where you really want to go, you need the astral plane. And Tony would probably say that ain't shit. That just you get to your happy hunting grounds or wherever your Norse myth says you go in the afterlife. He says you're far from where you need to be. That's just another part of the trick, another layer of the trap, just like presented in the Matrix movies. Morpheus, he wasn't fighting no war, nothing. He just was trapped in another layer of the Matrix. He was fooled. That dumb, fat Lawrence Fishburne. Here's just another sampling of something that's presented in the Deities and Demigods book. I didn't show you this in the last video. For example, pick a country or pick a region of the world. Here, Finnish mythos. I guess if you're from Philly, that means myth or legend from Finland, I think. So all the details of this seems very broad. The great tree, the magic wool, the rake of iron. But for Japan, for China, for India, also for Indians, the Native Americans, all the gods are listed out, all the legend and lore. Again, it's beyond anybody's capability to research. Going on, where are you going, Gary Gygax? Going off to the library again. In Philly, we say library. We're going off to the library again. Oh, see you in 10 hours. Nobody could research it. He had to have access to it. The Omega House with Greg Marmalard or something in the lodges. He had to have access to it beforehand. And to go down to the level of Finnish myth if you're from Philly, I think that means from Finland. Who would care? That little now, people from Finland, I don't want to lose you. I'm an equal opportunity offender. I've trashed Philly and New York way more times than I'm going to trash your Finland. But you're going into the level of Finnish myth? Who would care about what little gods are running around that country 100,000 years ago? But you see, that's the level of detail I'm talking about here. Here's another example, guys. It says Sumerian myth. I didn't crop it like this. I can't make it larger. I don't know what happened. It doesn't matter. Sumerian. It also has a separate section on Babylonian myth. Bill Cooper would be quite proud with his ancient Babylon horse shit. Sumerian myth, Enlil, and all those videos we watched as truthers 10 years ago. What's the other one? Come on, that you can say it. They know. Enki. That's right. Enlil and Enki. Remember you had those truthers running around saying that it's not Lucifer or Satan. It's actually Enki and Enlil and all. They're running around here and they're rolling around and running around. Man, aren't you worried you're going to offend them if they are the evil force here? No. I'm not I'm not worried one bit. maybe these are the deities of Melvin, Enlil, and anyway, just to give you an example, and you can, I guess, you have to make it a game. See, it always has to be in the under the auspices, whatever that means, of a game. 400 hit points, an armor class of -2. Yeah, like that's the best. I had a fighter, I think, that armor class better than that. Some god Enlil's gonna have an armor class worse than my fighter. Some dude that was just like, what is that damn thing? Keep on the Borderland. Some dude hanging around Keep on the Borderland is a better armor class than Enlil? I don't think so, Gary Gax. But they have to make it a game. So Matt, your characters, if they were powerful enough, could attack these? That's the way they make it seem in the game. It's a game, but made for their own purposes. I mean, that's pretty clear, isn't it? We can make this into a game, and then all those that play the game will give us energy or whatever they did to extract the loosh. Who knows? Well, Matt, why you keep the books? Because that shit doesn't work on me. These books are incredible. I'll never get rid of these books. So, anyway, it's incredible, the level of details. Let me show you one or two more things regarding this different myth, and then we'll look at something else. Here's Central American mythos, Quetzalcoatl. Matt, everybody knows Quetzalcoatl. This doesn't take some amazing degree of research, but that's why I'm showing you this. I agree. Everybody knows Quetzalcoatl from comic books and stuff. But look at the other gods presented under the Central American mythos. Nobody's ever heard of this stuff unless you were born of, say, a Guatemalan mother. Okay, this is the level of detail I'm talking about. Off to the right of Quetzalcoatl, other Central American gods and ancient deities. Again, unless you were born in a field in Honduras somewhere, you've never heard of. And this is no internet, guys. The research. How do you even find this stuff in a library? Okay, obviously, he just knocked on the door of his own lodge or something and said, "Can I get access to the ancient books room?" I can't pronounce these. Matt, try. It's funny as shit. Camaxtli. Oh, that god just rolling around. And look at the one next to it. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that. For if you're driving, here's how it's spelled. ChalchulhTliCue. Matt, try to pronounce. No, I wouldn't even know where to begin. The letter C. That's all I would know how to do. Then the next one's unpronounceable. If you're driving, Huhueteotl, a fire god appearing in the form of a lizard. It says here, greater God. If you were a greater God, sir, why couldn't you have the power to change your own name? No wonder you never drew any power from certain regions. Unless you were born in a field in El Salvador, nobody could pronounce it. And finally, I found one under Central American deities and myth I have the chance of pronouncing. A bat god, if you're driving. Kamaz, oh boy, Kamaz Oz. No, I can't. I can't pronounce. He's a lesser god. Maybe he can't get the paperwork done to change his name. Let's get back to what we were looking at, the known planes of existence. As confirmed, by the way, by many people in our group, it's a little bit more interesting what we're looking at. Above this, and you can't see it here, it says, if for some reason it becomes necessary to choose a plane of existence at random, the following tables may be used for your dice. And it says that roll of a dice is a die, a D-I-E. There's no coincidence like this with this creepy shit in the English language, folks. No coincidence at all. So all the inner planes are listed, prime material plane, alternate world. That's where we are right now. Somebody rolled a 3. We originally rolled a 1 or 2. The world from the 70s and 80s. It was still a bunch of corrupt creeps, but it made little sense. Something happened. We had to roll again, and we got 3. It's like what existed before, but the bizarro world. That's where we are now. Positive material plane. If you roll a 5, negative, the elementals. Para-elemental plane of dust. I wonder if even Levette knows about that. I'm sure she does. Ethereal plane of shadow. If you roll a 20, I didn't even know that existed. I never came across it in these books before. Plane of shadow. It's like the League of Shadows from Batman on steroids. That's where these sequential incarnations like Melvin and Bezos and Elon Musk, Lone Scum, and Larry Silverfish came from. No doubt, the plane of shadow. Either that or number 5, the negative material plane. Matt, you don't think it was as simple as we had to roll a dice before incarnating? Who knows? Who knows? Step right up, you eternal spirits of power, and roll your dice. I promise you, from all your friends' perspectives here, you'll just go in and out. You might, if you get the wrong plane, you might be stuck in there 1,000 years. What's that movie? You put the drops in the eye and you serve your time or whatever. Anyway, we'll talk about that. That's an interesting movie. I got to see that again sometime. Don't put it in the comments, please. We're talking about some of the most important things in known existence here. Don't put a movie name in the comments. I don't care where Block Island is. I don't. Okay, we rolled. Maybe Bill can do a poster about this. We rolled, and it says, Matt, you rolled a 2. The prime material plane. Where? King of Prussia, Pennsylvania. What the hell is that? But here's some bad news, Matt. You have to roll again. There's going to be a tree that kills you and crushes you, and then you have to roll again. And you're going to roll a 3. Prime material plane, same city, Exton, but an alternate bizarro world that you won't be able to figure out. That'll basically drive you and the real spiritual beings you're trapped with crazy. Look at this. Here's a dice or die table for the outer planes and the afterlives. You don't think we have to roll for that, do you? They're doing all the work here. We're going to have to roll a dice? No, that can't be. Who knows why this is in the game? Matt, the game doesn't literally transfer over to real life. I know. I let in with that. By the way, a quick story before looking at this further. I don't watch too much like lower level NASCAR anymore, like the Xfinity series or the Truck series. But whenever I've tuned into the Truck series this year, maybe 3 or 4 times I've tuned in for a little bit, there's a racer, and he had this camera last year too, but I think it's every race this year. Well, the ones I've tuned into. The guy's name is Daniel Dye. His last name is Dye. Daniel Dye. The camera on his car sponsorship is the Race to Stop Suicide. I kid you not. Does this reality play games or what? The Race to Stop Suicide, which is some national nonprofit, the quest or Race to Stop Suicide, the sponsored driver is Daniel Dye. I kid you not. So here, it will again, Dungeons and Dragons. Somebody's gonna have to roll a dice to see where they end up. You could be die 1 through 3. You could be stuck in the astral, not even make it to one of these paradises. Some of them are pretty horrible, like Pandemonium. Some of them, Hades, the 9 hells. That's where Hillary Clinton comes from. But then there's the Happy Hunting Grounds, Elysium. Well, that's that bad movie with Matt Damon. Twin Paradises. Oh, the twin. They can't be a paradise if they're introducing the twins. Probably you have to walk through a giant gate that looks like the WTC or something if you end up there in the afterlife. The 7 heavens. I don't know what these places are. But, Matt, what would you pick? I don't know, man. I don't know. The Happy Hunting Ground sounds pretty good. They got bow hunting there. They got Ansa. I don't know, Matt. It's breaking down. Look, there's a lot more here, so I'll hold it together. I'll try. If anybody walks into the room, I'll make sure I don't embarrass you, and we'll keep going. I will hold it together. It will not break down so quickly or easily. Look at this. The ethereal encounter table. If you move into the ethereal, you could encounter all these nasty things. And then there's one coming up for the astral. I'll show you in just a second, but we'll spend much more time on this one. I need to ask people like Michael and Tony if they've come across some of these creatures. Here's the astral encounter table, but back to the ethereal. I mean, is this where those archons come from that try to put you back in a body when you have an NDE? Or are you moving into the astral during the NDE? I don't know. I don't do it. When on my moment of death, I plan to get fully and wholly out of here. So, aren't you going to call it ethereal anymore? No, I'm going to jump back to the ethereal. The encounter table. Let's see. Is Hillary Clinton on this list? A chromatic dragon is on this list. A platinum dragon. Afridi. That's that devil thing that I thought was Satan or Lucifer was on the cover of the Dungeons Master guide. I thought was the devil. I think it's an Afridi. Elementals, the Gorgon, a lot of nasty things, according to Dungeons and Dragons, you can encounter in the ethereal. I have to ask Michael about that. This is the astral encounter table. And again, just like the ethereal, a lot of nasty things, according to Dungeons and Dragons, one can come across if they astrally travel. Or they might, according to Dungeons and Dragons, you would need to astrally travel to make it to your, quote, final resting place or your happy hunting grounds or your afterlife. But look, demons, a prince of demons you could come across. Oh my goodness. Archdevils, greater devils, poor devils, dragons as you go down. Medusa. Wasn't Medusa in the other table? The Medusa can hang out in both. Night hag. That's got to be Hillary Clinton or Nancy Pelosi or whatever represents that type of, say, woman, congressman, senator, or presidential candidate. That's the night hag. That explains a lot regarding Nancy Pelosi and Hillary Clinton. It is scary to think she could be encountered on the astral, but potentially when she sleeps, she could be. It doesn't matter, guys. We're prepared. And, I don't think, I think we're doing the work now because it will translate to whatever comes through the moment of death. Matt, maybe this, I can hear you yelling at me, maybe this whole Dungeons and Dragons thing is just to implant the same bullshit message that it's hard to get out of here. And it's hard, maybe, they would be capable of that. Any way to implant the message that it's hard to get to your final, quote, resting place. So you have to go through the astral and look at all these horrible, creepy characters. They're capable of it. And implanting it in the younger mind. Oh, they're absolutely capable of it. I've never seen this before. The psychic wind. Perhaps the most dangerous thing that can happen to an astral traveler is getting caught in the psychic wind. One quick note here, guys. Let's not forget, Dungeons and Dragons, you play a character. Okay? Just like it's probably some sort of parallel metaphor. Your higher self is playing a character now in this existence, but it's not talking about, or remember, this is a role-playing game with a lot of real truth, Matt, and if the truth bleeds through to reality, what's the difference? I'm just reminding you of what context to take this in. Okay, get caught in the psychic wind. No one knows how or why the psychic wind blows, but all fear its effects. The chance of delayed or disrupted journey is a non-cumulative 5% per plane cross, blah, blah, blah. By the way, if you roll a certain thing on the die or dice, the effects of the winds, I pulled the book out, I'll read it, it's cut off. If you on a 20-sided die, 1 through 12, it just slows your travel a bit. You'll eventually get to where you need to go. 13 through 16, it blows you off course for 2 to 20 days. That's probably when the archons try to get you back into a body. 17 through 19 blows you so far off course, you go to a different destination. And then if you roll a 20, if you roll the dreaded 20, a storm blows, and unless a saving throw versus magic is made, the silver cord is broken, and the party is killed. If a save is successful, the party is lost for 4 to 40 days. Killed, and the silver cord is broken. Now, that's very, very interesting. I've never seen that language here. Tony, who communed with his higher self, spoke about like a spiritual cord, a silver cord that connects you to higher self. There are others that have used this sort of language similar to the silver cord. Now, if the silver cord is attached to us as real spiritual beings, this is eventually our quote rainbow bridge out of here back to higher self or whatever. That's something that the NPC or whatever other characters here that aren't the same as you may, and I'm talking about real life now. I'm not talking about talking about Dungeons and Dragons. Tony and others have talked about like the silver cord, and if you want to have that because that's your path out of here back to the spiritual whole or whatever it may be. I didn't know they used this language in Dungeons and Dragons. I'm not surprised. Whoever, the ancient whoever they went to draw from to put this game. Matt, this ain't nothing but the Rosicrucian Library. Maybe I wouldn't know. Probably it's probably somebody screaming at me. I hate the word initiation. Matt, this is an initiation for kids. There is no initiation unless one completely understands and accepts what they're getting into. You don't wake up and say, oh, shit, somehow I found my way to the dark side. No, you know what you're getting involved in if you will go off to a retreat with Darth Vader and Darth Pelagius or whatever and Sith Lords. No, there is no initiation if you don't know exactly what you're getting into. There is no initiation for kids or whatever. Why? Because I said so, and that's the rules of this place. You have to know what you're getting involved in. I have no... Matt, don't you regret playing this game? No, not at all. I'd like to continue playing it. It's a lot of fun. Just playing downstairs by myself, that didn't sound too good, but it doesn't work out too well. But this is very strange. There's a reason why all these things transferred to video games, and there was no real transfer of Dungeons and Dragons to, even online role-playing, I don't think. I know you can get together with groups in virtual FaceTimes and play Dungeons and Dragons, but like the role-playing game with all the old modules, it just doesn't exist online. It's very strange why it doesn't. And there have been Dungeons and Dragons video games, but I don't know, not this. It never really transferred to the video game. It's almost like they held it back for a reason or something like that. But anyway, so this term, silver cord is broken. Very, very interesting. I never saw this before. As I was finishing the last section, I sat here for 30 seconds and I'm like, wait a second, there's something missing here, or why is this somewhat familiar? And I thought, yeah, the Romeo and Juliet, Benvolio, this wind you talk of blows us from ourselves. They're on their way to the Capulet party. Supper is done and we shall come too late. So I don't know, I see a connection here in some way. Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. Remember, the psychic wind. You travel into the, was it consequences of the astral or ethereal? Probably astral travel. You roll 1 through 19, you get blown off course up to 40 days. But if you roll a 20, or in some rare cases, the psychic wind blows so hard, whatever that means, it cuts the silver cord, and it says here your character dies. And I thought, well, is there a relationship here? Yeah, probably, but this wind you talk of blows us from ourselves. Supper is done. We don't make it to the Capulets in time, and we come too late. Romeo, or I fear too early. For my mind misgives some consequence yet hanging in the stars, shall bitterly begin his fearful date with this night's revels, and expire the term of a despised life closed in my breast by some vile forfeit of untimely death, but he that hath the steerage of my course. And before this is the really strange Mercutio soliloquy, if that's the right word, about dreams and all this stuff. And I dreamed a dream last night, but what was yours? That dreamers do lie, whatever. So yeah, look, people think this little Shakespeare guy wrote these plays. Come on, this is the height of what you call friggin' secret societies. And if anybody's trying to tell me Bacon Society, please. Pootie Tang Award, and this ain't my first rodeo. Go whip up some bacon in your eggs. Back to something, guys, that shows you the level of research that would need to be involved for a game. This one's the easy one to start with. It's Norse myth, Odin and Thor. But, okay, spheres of control for each god. authority, rulership, storms, Freya, god of love. Okay, well that's relatively easily researched. I mean, take a long time in a library. Animal associated with the god. Okay, clerics only allowed to be male or male and female, and this is accurate, guys. You know they're generally accurate on this. What's worn on the head from a cleric associated or dedicated to that god. Forseti as the god. You just no helm. Just it says bear. Body. You're allowed to wear ring mail or yellow cloak associated with Freya. Colors associated with the god. Okay, this by itself. I mean, if it was okay, Norse myth is relatively easier to research. Fine, this would take somebody months. But how about getting into gods and deities like this? Dungeons and Dragons via some form of appendix, just shoved in the back of the book. It's 10 years of research just shoved in the back of the book. Here's the Sumerian myth we'll look at in a moment. But again, the unknown gods from Central America, myth from Finland, Celtic myth, India, fictional myth. There's characters from Michael Moorcock's Elric. Don't laugh. Michael Moorcock's Elric. Cthulhu, it's here. I mean, it actually combines the fiction with, quote, real myth from the Chinese, the Japanese. So let's do Sumerian again. And there's a lot more than this. If you move out to the right, I'll show you another image. So god of air, war, the animal associated, if the cleric can be male, female, or both, the helm of the cleric, bear, conical hat for Inanna, conical hat, bear. Here, maybe there wasn't a ton of information available. What do they wear? It says kilt. I guess not a lot of information available, but we're talking about Sumerian myth. It goes back quite a bit. But then moving out to the right, there's even more information. Look at this. Look at the level of detail as you move out towards the right of these charts. Okay, colors associated with the gods. Holy days associated with, there at the top, full moon, holy days associated with quarter moon, holy days associated with equinox. As you move out to the right, the next two are about sacrifice to your god, monthly via gems, monthly via precious metals, monthly via artwork. This is all correct, most likely, guys. Highly hyper accurate per gods you've never even heard of. Not just Thor, not just Odin, gods from all over the world, basically nobody's ever heard of unless they were born into a field behind. And it says, okay, place of a worship, temple, okay, a temple representative of the god. That's going to be the most common. But up top, it says forest meadow. I'm going to tell you just who that's associated with. I'm going to look down on my chart here. Forest meadow. Well, that's not even Sumerian. That's Norse myth. U-I-L-E-R or U-L-L-E-R. It's very small. Hunting skills, god of the hound, associated with the hound. U-L-L-E-R, the place of worship, forest meadows. So, I mean, some say, don't just say temple, but says temple hall. It's just incredible. There's no possible way. It's just amazing when you come to these realizations after having this game sit around for 30-some years in your house or whatever, that there's no possible way you go do this level of research for parts of a game of which 99 point whatever percentage of anybody that plays the game is never going to need or use. I mean, most people that play the game, they get through Keep on the Borderlands and some of the damn modules, and then they put the game away and they never play it again. The occult / esoteric / secret society reasons for the game, or maybe reasons for compiling the information, obviously came first. The game, for whatever the purpose of the game was, came second. And the game could be the revelation of the method to reveal or to truth. I mean, they reveal truth all the time in whatever they're involved in. So, I mean, is that the sole purpose or is that a roundabout purpose? It doesn't matter. I mean, as usual, there's truth in it. But there's also deception buried in it, like everything else, quote, they do. I'm not going to read this, guys, but if you want to read it, just pause it. One of the purposes about all this astral and ethereal stuff regarding the game is combat. I mean, that's what this game is about. It's about your character moving through dungeons and fighting and casting spells, etc. So at the bottom, it talks about astral, beginning of the section on astral travel and combat. And then what we looked at is the bottom, astral encounters, all the types of weird demons or devils or Hillary Clinton night hags that may show up in the astral. And again, like, what is the purpose of this from, from the esoteric meaning behind it all? I mean, what is it? I mean, I don't have the answers. I just don't. One thing that keeps popping into my head and I don't like is kids 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14 years old that are really into it, that read every bit of it, believe, planted very early in the mind that there's a lot of nasty things in the ethereal and the astral, and things to be fought, fought off. It reminds me a lot of this Archon and Trickster presentation, and those things need to be feared. And Matt, I told you that the tricks after death are all coming, and no. I mean, what standing does this have on its own if you don't give energy and power to it, don't expect it, don't manifest it on yourself? Is that what this is for? I mean, an 8 or 10-year-old plays this game, they don't, later on in life, they might investigate things about ethereal and astral and out-of-body things and things related to the after-death experience. But who knows? I mean, just who knows? But the message here, the very simple message is the ethereal, the astral, your character can move into it if that's whatever their disciplines. There's going to be a lot of nasty things to fight off. And there's a psychic wind and things that can harm you and things that blow you off course and things that could cut your silver cord. The message is the message that maybe is carried in the subconscious is rather bleak and probably inaccurate. Probably, can these things exist on their own in real life without you expecting them to exist or manifesting them? So, Gary Gygax or whatever, I still appreciate everything you put together. I'm much better off for playing Dungeons and Dragons. I mean, some Christians would say it's evil, like playing with a Ouija board. I totally disagree. It absolutely helped me expand my mind, helped my grades. I never, I'm not a big reader, but for this, I read, I studied the manuals, I played by myself. Even, that didn't sound too good. Even when my friends weren't around, a new module, I wanted to dive into it on my own. I read more of this than anything. Then it got me into reading related, like, sword and sorcery books, because I just never read anything. I wasn't interested in reading until this all this fighter, paladin, ranger, sword and sorcery stuff. Michael Moorcock, don't laugh. Elric of Melnibone, the Conan series, and all that. So it absolutely was a path for me to read and to really improve my intelligence. And if it is any sort of a trick, then once we see through the trick, as we all have, we can simply nullify it with a thought or a word and just make it all go away. Why? Because we said so. And I again appreciate what Gary Gygax put together. I wouldn't go back and say, I wish I had never played. No way. I'm glad I played and spent the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours that I did on this stuff. Never dove too much in the back of all this. I was 12, 13, 14, 15 years old. Ethereal, astral. I mean, it just didn't, there was no reason for it. The new module would appear in Kmart, or the James Way up here in Thorndale. There was a James Way and a Kmart. I begged my grandmother, for the $4.50 or $6 for the module, and you had plastic, and you'd open up and these drawings of dungeons and new monsters. It was the most incredible thing of all time. But if there is I'll declare, if there is a dark side to it, and some people just don't, dispel it and nullify it the way we can in an instant, because we said so, then let's just do it now. Gary Gygax, if there's any nefarious reason for doing this for kids or whatever, Gary Gygax, if that's the case, thou art a villain. Sorry, but is he still around, Gary? But I appreciate what he did. And I can't, Matt, you can't be judge, jury, and execute. You can't do, we don't know. And maybe Gary's role was to put everything together. He didn't know if there's a dark side to this, what he was doing. Let's give Gary a break. I'm going to give Gary, declare, if you knew about some of this dark stuff, then thou art a villain. But if not, I take it back. And I apologize. Matt, do we need to look closer into the into the back of these Dungeons and Dragons books for any clues as to how we can find a way out of the reality trick? And we need to find the lost key. And we need to escape the Saturn Moon Matrix and the grid system that's holding our spirits here. And we're Horcrux stuff. No, we don't have to. We don't have to look at this horse shit any more than we looked at it too closely now. Matt, don't we need to find a magic clue here? No, not at all. No, to me, call me a simpleton. Matt, you could end the video the same way. I'm going to end every video the same way. Let's just say this is correct. If it's correct, it's the most important information of all time. If it's correct, we're doing the work now to see through the trick. That will translate into the moment of death, beyond, or whatever. We are doing the work. Worry about yourself. Worry about yourself. We're doing the work now. For the reason, we're finding out the reason we incarnated. What does my spiritual self need from this life? We're putting aside all the tricks and the distractions of what we call not milk. It is that simple, in my opinion. There's an adversary here whose role is to block you from seeing through the trick and getting done what you need to get done for your spiritual whole. Then, pretty simple. Call me an idiot or an ignorant simpleton if you want. Move into the moment of death knowing there's nothing more we could have done. There's no perfect standard that we needed to achieve. We did enough. And carrying that confidence, that's all we need to do. Saw through the trick. Hey, spiritual self, higher self, I gave you all I could give you. I give you all I could give you. Now get us the heck out of here. Matt, what if we expect tricks and traps and archonic beings at the moment of death? Well, if you expect that, you might get that. Why don't you just dispel them with a word? So based on this, if you're going to play your Dungeons and Dragons today, you're going to dust off your old shit, aren't you? Some of you have this old shit somewhere. Honey, open up the attic. If you play it, all right, I'm going to just 2 words for you that your character is going to need, okay? Stay safe in the dungeons. I think I remember that happening. The first time I ever played Dungeons and Dragons, I was down in Ocean City in my uncle's house with my cousin Mike and my cousin Bridget. I had just done my rolls to get my strength and dexterity and wisdom and charisma. What was the other one? Constitution. Get all my numbers, and then I get my basic armor. I was a fighter, and you get use your sword. Now you head out to the Keep of the Borderlands and the dungeon on the other side of the Keep of the Borderlands. And I swear to you this happened. Our characters set out with whatever gold pieces we had on the way to the dungeons. The entry dungeon to Dungeons and Dragons for almost everybody was Keep on the Borderlands. And there was my cousin was the dungeon master. He was 6 years older than me. And he said, there's a woman at the top of the battlement. She wants to say something to your character. And I turned around and she said, stay safe. I kid you not. That's probably where it came from. Thanks for listening.